Thank you for joining me for lesson 115 of our daily study through Sefer HaMitzvos. Today, we're still learning more mitzvahs relating to one who has taken upon themselves a Nazirite vow, and they've become a Nazir. So the Nazir is we talked about yesterday that they're forbidden from eating grapes or eating raisins. There are more restrictions. Negative mitzvah 205 here says that he may not eat from the pits to the skins. So the mitzvah is a prohibition on eating the pits of a grape. Um, and if he eats up to an olive amount, then there's a punishment of lashes for that. But remember, you brought that on yourself because you put that vow upon yourself to be a Nazir. All right, negative mitzvah 206. A Nazirite is forbidden from eating grape skins. And this comes from the same verse that we just read, where it says, even up to the grape skin, you're not allowed to eat. So that even the tannins itself, you're not allowed to eat. So if you eat a kazais, a grape amount of that, an olive amount, then you are going to be liable to lashes. But let's say, what if you had a little bit of each of these things that you're not supposed to have? So a little bit of grapes, a little raisins, a little skins, a little pits, and a squeezed cluster of grape, and you drank it down. So you had all this mixture. You had a kazais of it. So you had an olive amount. Then you would not receive one set of lashes. You would receive 5 sets of lashes because you broke all those different mitzvot that the Torah laid out. It could have just said, don't have anything from the vine, period. But it named each of those things individually. And so each one of those things is its own negative commandment and has its own punishment related to it. All right. Moving on to negative mitzvah 207. The Nazirite is forbidden from becoming tameh by means, unclean, by means of contact or carrying of a dead body. So it says in Numbers 6:7, it says, he may not become tameh, even should his father or mother die. So it's a very strict prohibition on corpse impurity. Corpse impurity is like the highest source of impurity, and that is the Nazir is forbidden to come into contact with this impurity. So in that sense, they're kind of like a priest, and in fact, the sages then look at, okay, what happens if there's a body that needs to be buried, there's nobody else to do it, and there's a priest and a Nazirite person with the Nazirite vow. They both are walking together, and they come across this body. Both are forbidden to normally to become impure by a corpse. However, there's a mitzvah in front of them to bury the dead. So one of them needs to do it. And so which one would do it in this case? The one that would do it, if anybody else was around, they would do it because that's they don't have any sort of prohibition. But for these two, it would be the Nazirite who would go and do it because he has a time bound commitment to not being impure by a corpse, whereas the priest, his obligation not to come into contact with a corpse, it comes from a higher place. It's not something that's merely bound by time, and so therefore the priest should withhold himself from doing this mitzvah, and the Nazir should actually become impure in this case. So let's say the person who, even though they're a Nazir, they decide somebody close to them died. They didn't know this was going to happen. They probably wouldn't have taken this Nazirite vow upon themselves had they known that this close family member or something was going to pass away. And they just can't hold themselves back, and they participate in the burial, or any other rites. They sit shomer for the corpse, or many other ways they could have become impure. That person is, has broken this vow that they've made, and so therefore they are punished by lashes. And even if this type of impurity does not require him to cut off his hair that he's been growing for the period of being a Nazirite. All right, last mitzvah for today, negative mitzvah 208. This is the prohibition that the Nazirite is forbidden from becoming tameh by entering a tent in which there is a dead body. So we learn from the Torah that impurity fills the room that a corpse is in, and so if there's a corpse laying in a room, then the whole room, everything in it, and any opened vessel, etc., is becomes impure. So negative mitzvah 208 comes from Numbers 6:6, which says he may not come into a place where there is a dead person. The Gemara says this verse already says he may not become tameh. When it says he may not come, this comes to make a separate prohibition, both by becoming tameh through touching or carrying a dead body, and also entering a tent in which there's a dead body, because he would also come into contact with this corpse impurity by doing so. There it is explained that if one enters the tent after becoming tameh, he receives only one set of lashes. So if he already was tameh from the corpse, he's going to get lashes for that. And coming into the tent is not an additional set of lashes. If, however, he simultaneously entered the tent and became tameh, so you knew there's a body in there that you're going to receive corpse impurity, and you're a Nazir, then you actually receive two sets of lashes, because you became tameh from the corpse, and also you came and entered into a room with the corpse. So that's two different mitzvahs that you broke. So very interesting, the laws of the Nazir, and you know what? This really does relate to quite a few characters in our Tanakh who were in the situation of being Nazirites. All right. So tomorrow we have a couple more. One being regarding the Nazir, and then another we move into another positive commandment. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Finished 115 lessons now. Shkoyach. It feels like a significant number. I think we're like a third of the way or past a third of the way through Sefer HaMitzvos. And so we're doing great. And thank you so much for studying along with me. All right. Have a great day in every way.